The Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita does include a crime of mob lynching, but I have a problem with that phrase. The reason is because the problem, in my view, that has to be addressed is hate crime rather than violence by mobs. Because the phrase mob lynching seems to interpret the problem of violence as a problem of law and order, that there is a mob of 5 or more people, that's how the provision defines this particular crime, and because there is a mob involved, then this has to be prosecuted. I always wonder, what if it's not a mob, but two people who are engaged in this kind of violence? And it would still be equally wrong. And therefore, it seems to me what is really at stake here is not the fact that there's a mob that is involved. The problem is that this is a case of hate crime. And what the provision does is, after defining it as mob lynching, it then identifies a series of grounds, including caste or race. It does not explicitly mention religion, but it does mention personal belief. So one could argue that the provision does include cases of hate crime, or at least those cases of hate crime that are committed by mob. But that is definitely one of the problems. The second issue is that these kind of deeply entrenched social and political problems cannot be resolved by just having a provision. There has to be proper system in place to address this problem of violence. So for instance, where is sensitization of the police or training of the police? Where is the system of data collection and documentation? Where is the system to help the victims, so rehabilitate them or support them? Where is the system in which the larger prosecutory machinery is informed or trained to address these kind of cases? So I'm not very optimistic that in our current climate, this provision in and of itself will be able to deal with this problem at all. And also, let's remember that the provision is framed in a manner that it can be even used against vulnerable communities. So it's possible that this provision is actually used against Dalits or tribals or Muslims or other marginalized communities on the ground that they have committed mob lynching. So if the whole point of this provision was to appreciate the problem of hate crime, it clearly is not going to succeed.